Hello there. We are live tonight with Chuck Peoples of Homestead Medical. How's the audio sound for you, Chuck?
Sounds real good.
All right. Good thing my audio is going so well today. So, Chuck Peoples of Homestead Medical. He's got medical training going on. Pretty cool live tissue class, which I'm sure we're going to talk a bunch about, which is a great opportunity. And it's something that I want to get into. And I would recommend everyone else needs to do too, because it's kind of like, you learn all this medical stuff, but it's like, if you really want your confidence there, you got to do it for real.
Right.
One thing with like shooting that people will talk about is they'll have like a reoccurring dream where their gun will not work. And then either for me, it was after I was in my first real gunfight, or for some people after they've done force on force, then they'll have a dream where they need a gun and their gun actually works. So I imagine I don't get as scared about the medical not working, but I imagine it's probably got the same effect on some people after they do some live tissue and they actually do it for real, that they're actually capable of it and it works.
Yeah.
So Chuck, why don't you? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the live tissue class is about the closest to anything that you can get to as far as the real thing. And a lot of people discover what they think is going to work or what they have doesn't, and they need more of it, or they kind of need to punt, and go with something else.
Chuck, why don't you give them your background and talk about your company, and then we'll get into the different classes.
Yeah, I've been in EMS for 29 years, critical care paramedic. I worked traditional EMS for a number of years, retired from that, then went to work for a defense contractor, worked overseas on some contracts and stuff for several years, did some disaster response also after that, and then came back to the States, kind of did the same thing. After that, I was working here and I started, I went to Self-Reliance Festival, the very first one. The second one I went to, they asked me to speak, and I did. And after I spoke a couple of times at a couple of festivals, they asked me, say, hey, you got your own company? Do you teach? Do you do this? So, I kind of saw a need. I started looking around, and I was sitting inside the shop at SOE with Evan and John and a couple other people were standing around. I said, I think I'm going to start my own business. And John said, you're not going to do it. You're just talking shit. And that pissed me off enough to go and do it. And I went and bought all the URLs and all that good stuff and started teaching. And it's kind of taken off. So I kind of specialize in prolonged care. I do all the stop the bleed stuff, the cool guy ninja, tactical trauma shit. But I also really focus on prolonged care. What do you do after you stop the bleed? After you've done that, what if you have to take care of that patient 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months?
Now, what all classes are you offering right now?
I do a tactical trauma. I could do that in a number of ways. I do a 1-day class and a 2-day class. The 2-day class offers a more insight, more tactics, and more deeper into care under fire, things like that, movement under fire. I do a live fire tactical medical class where we do live fire small unit tactics with it, and we do the medical. I do the live tissue class. We only host that in one spot in Ohio. That's a live fire, live tissue class. I don't do the firearms portions. Lewis does. Lewis from Tactical Response, you all know. And then I also do my Homestead Medical Level 1 and Level 2 class, which are both 2-day classes. And that's where you really get into the prolonged care, the advanced wound care, not only how to do debridement, but how to close wounds, different methods of closing wounds. We get into shock treatment. We get into antibiotics. We get into, pharmacology, fracture management, dislocation management, how to reduce a dislocation, pop it back in. I mean, a lot of deep, prolonged care that's not taught anywhere else. And the level 2 class obviously is more advanced, and we start getting into some more like surgical airways and things like that, into that, Foley catheters, really prolonged care stuff. But yeah, some of it is nursing care, but I'm teaching you the skills how to do this, that you can take care of a family member, team member, whatever the case is, in case there is a grid down situation or you can't get to, advanced medical care immediately.
Right on. Yeah, we got a couple people in the chat right now that actually have taken classes with you. We got Jody, Max. Is Chase Peoples related to you? I assume he
That's
is.
my son. You met him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he helps me teach. He's taking the classes too.
Right on. So which one's your favorite class to teach?
I really like I love the live tissue class. That's my favorite one because that's the biggest aha moments that you get. Yeah, Tim Riley's in here. He's taking the live tissue. But yeah, that's the biggest aha moment you're going to have, because you're going to see what things actually work and what don't work. That one package of wound packing gauze that you carry in your IFAC, you're going to discover real quick that's not enough. You don't have enough gauze. And I also love teaching the Homestead, the level 1 and level 2 courses. I like doing the prolonged care, but probably my favorite's the live tissue. And we're the only company that is providing live tissue training to civilians anywhere in the country that I'm aware of.
Yeah, you guys should. I think you guys should show more footage of that to try to push more people into it, because it's like that's like an opportunity that may not even be around forever. Like because there's a lot of logistics that go into that. And to do it any other way, it's going to be kind of have to be completely under the radar to make it happen. I've heard of it happening in other ways before involving pigs, but it was not like a thing someone could just go and sign up for.
No, it's a different class. I mean, it's and for us to do it, we kind of keep it low key, because we do get some haters from PETA and all that, and they think we're being cruel to animals. The thing about it is, our class, we actually take more careful steps to take care of the animals than what actually is done in the military. And I know this because I've posted some videos, and I had a few go viral on TikTok and Instagram, and all the comments, the haters came out. And of course, most of the people thought I was getting a lot of comments that were, "Oh, you're violating your your non-disclosure agreement, your NDA, you're not allowed to, you're going to get kicked out, you're going to get articled," and all this stuff. And I was like, the only comment I made, I let it go for days. And the only comment I made was, "It's not military." And then it was, "Bullshit, it is. You're not supposed to have your phone in there." And then I got a message offline from a guy that said, "I know it's not military because I put the military one on, I'm one of the instructors, but you're doing a hell of a job from what I see." And then I've chatted back and forth with this guy before, and we actually take more steps to ensure the safety of the animal than actually what they do in the military. There's a vet there the whole time. The pig is sedated. The animals are sedated. They're paralyzed. They don't feel anything. They have no idea what's going on. And the guys that are in the chat, they can, I'm sure, they can fess to that, because they know, they've been there.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm not too worried about the animals. I'm sure like lots of people are absolute animal lovers. Jay Gibson, that was like surprising for me to see, he's such a chill dude. But then the second he thinks that a dog might get hit by a car, like he turns on his anger.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, but you're not going to see anything more realistic than doing the live tissue. And we do it, you're on the pig, you're on the animals all day long. And we're doing multiple scenarios with it, but we're also doing some sensory deprivation for you. We do things like, we're taking them, and Max has done this, so is Tim. We put their hands in literally buckets of ice water and numb your hands. Or when they put gloves on, we're actually putting like a Vaseline like substance on it so you can't grip. We're doing a lot of different things to take care of something. They'll have goggles on. We're squirting stuff in their eyes. And we're putting, we're making it more of a stress-induced scenario so that you can learn and actually do this without thinking. So it becomes a muscle memory.
That's awesome. Yeah, any chance to add stress? I really like the idea of putting hands in ice water. I hadn't seen that before, but I'm like, damn, now I want to do that while shooting. Although I know I'll instantly hate that.
Yeah, it's not fun. I do things like in my other classes, basic tactical trauma class. I'll blindfold people, spin them around, have them spin, get them dizzy, then have them put their tourniquet on. Take away that sensory deprivation, and things like that. So that way you're able to do it on all different types, because your level, when you're doing this for real, your adrenaline level is way up here. If you're not a medical professional, have seen this 100 times, and especially on a loved one, it's a completely different story with that. You could be a seasoned professional, but you see a loved one laying there and your adrenaline level is going to be turned up, 10 more notches.
Yeah, it's easy to say that, like, oh, if this happens, then I'll do this thing. But, the emotion of having it be someone that you actually care about, that this really does affect your life. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to even replicate. Even when I do force on force classes, and anytime they do a scenario where like, okay, you're at a restaurant with your friend, I'm like, all right, I like have a hard time putting myself there,
Right.
And I'm just like, well, he should have carried a fucking gun. I'm taking care of this, So yeah, that's something I totally agree is like, having to do it on a loved one for real is gonna make it completely different.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When you turn that stressor up and you're looking at somebody you care about, you can't distance. Even it's different if it's like somebody on your team or somebody you train with or something, you're still going to have some investment in it. But when it's a loved one, it's your kid, your spouse, your mom, your dad, whatever the case may be, it changes it. And I don't care who you are, your adrenaline's at a different level. And, once that adrenaline goes up, your fine motor skills start going to shit. So with the more practice and the more different stressors that you put in training and the more repeats that you do it, it's becoming muscle memory. I mean, Sonny right there will tell you, who else better to back this up than, than Sonny, one of the greatest instructors out there. We just try to do each time, and I try to bring as realistic training as possible to do that. And really, the live tissue class is a huge logistic beast in its own, putting all the pieces together with it.
Yeah, I'd really like you to bring it to Florida. So if you could go ahead and handle the logistics on that too, that'd be great.
Well, it's the vet thing. That's the big thing. And the vet we work with is phenomenal. The vet.
Just tell them I don't like crossing the Mason-Dixon line.
But it's a great place to come train, though. If you come in Ohio, where we do it, you'll like it.
I'm probably gonna have to. When are you doing your next one?
We're looking at dates right now. We try not to wear out the vet, but it's probably going to be summertime, just because. Well, fall time. We're not going to do it in the just the big meat of summer, because up there they're having some classes already that are already scheduled on the property. So we're probably going to do it in fall when it's a little cooler. Because trust me, you don't want to be dealing with pig blood and guts when it's 90 degrees outside.
So you mean you don't want to do it at all in Florida?
Yeah. It'll be a whole different story.
It gets cold here too. Ironically, my huge fan is over there on top of my fireplace, blowing air at me. But like, it's gotten cold enough where we actually had to use that fireplace.
Right.
Winters here actually are pretty awesome. When Tremis Dynamics was here, it's probably the coldest training I've ever done it, and we also were lucky enough to have it rain on us all day.
Yeah, we've done that. We've had the pig, like literally when we were in the lab portion, lab portion of it where we're at in a bar, you can see your breath, like you'd cut in the pig, steam's coming out, which is real life. I mean, you're going to do that. A real body, you're going to see steam in an open wound coming out. So it's realistic. It's fun. We stress, Lewis does a phenomenal job with the firearms training part of it, and then I'm involved with the scenarios as far as the medical and stuff. But we have a lot of fun. You get to do some small unit tactics, and you're putting that medical skills to use in live situations.
Now, what are the students' reaction? Does anyone, like, when the pig first gets wounded, does it take them a minute to snap into action? Yeah,
we've had people do that. They come up and look at the wound, and they're like, because it may be a major bleed or an actual arterial bleed, or it's so large, they're not expecting that. And we do that on purpose. We'll have wounds where I can put both my fists in that. Now, try packing that with one package of wound packing gauze. It doesn't work, and then it's where we put certain wounds where you can't manipulate, where you're not thinking, oh, I can wrap a bandage on it. Well, we're putting it in a hip joint or something like that, where you can't get a bandage wrapped around. And what you're having to do is how you manage that, and it gives them some critical thinking skills and to think on the fly with the equipment that they have, how to make it work for them.
Sonny had a good comment, and this is funny too, because this is something I was thinking about doing in class, was having students print a picture of their loved one and put it next to the target, so that they, keep in their brain to take it seriously. But he said, try this for emotional addition. And let me read this one because it's bigger. I used to contact a spouse of a registered student and get a face picture of his kid/wife, print big poster of the face, use it in the scenario, placing it on a mannequin. It's not real, but it brings emotion in.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great idea.
And that's really cool too. Because one of the things with training is it's not just about how to put bullet holes in the paper faster. The gun, shooting the gun, the piece of paper is all just kind of like means that are used to teach different lessons, right?
Right.
Like in my classes, one of the things that we do is we address the true darkness that there is in the world. And, if anyone's heard me explain my logo, the reason why it's black and white is for a reason. And that is, the reason that it's black and white is for a reason. The reason that it's black and white is kind of a showing that there is a definitive difference between good and evil. And so using stuff like that, putting a picture of the wife or the kid in the scenario, I really like that. That's been something I've been wanting to do for a long time. What's up, Thomas, Max, everyone?
Yeah, I mean, and Max can tell you, Tim Riley's in there, can tell you that they've both been through the live tissue, and you're gonna see that it's when you're actually doing this stuff, you actually really get into it, and you kind of almost forget it's training on some of it, because it is so realistic. And when you're wrist deep into a wound and you're packing it, trying to close off a bleeder, you get on, but they're also going to show you what teamwork is. Trying to manage a large wound by yourself like that is very challenging. And they can also tell, it's not an easy thing, and it's not something you can, like some of these people who train, oh, just put this wound packing gauze in here and throw a pressure dressing on it and go. That's bullshit. And that's what we try to show is different. We replicate different wounds. We even have punches where we go in and it's the same diameter of like a 9mm, a 5.56, a 357, or even a 12 gauge slug. So you'll see how hard it is trying to pack in a wound where a 9mm goes, or even a 5.56. You can't. So then you've got to manipulate, and you've got to have tools to get in there. One of the things that I'm going to show in the next class is how you could take a Foley catheter, the end of it, the balloon part, and you can put it in that wound channel and close that wound up without packing it.
Very cool.
That's going to be, we're going to do a more advanced live tissue class. It's going to have some stuff where we're going to do the surgical airways, stuff like that on the live animals. And we even do chest decompression. We do those things. I've got videos of it. You can hear the air actually coming out of the pig. We were able to replicate a tension pneumothorax and stuff like that. We've done hemopneumothoraxes, all these things, so they can show. And then in the advanced class, it'll be how to do a crike, the advanced airway stuff, even IVs and things like that to teach people, how to be ready for all of this, and especially in a prolonged care aspect, if you've got to sit on a patient.
And one of the comments that we got a few of earlier was that there's never enough gauze.
No.
So can you talk about that for a second?
So your average wound channel, it's going to take probably more than a pack of gauze. And you get a large, so let's just say you get a grazing wound from a shotgun slug, okay, in your arm, it's going to rip out a bunch of tissue. All right. That one package of wound packing gauze isn't going to do it. What you need to do is you've got to have some extra gauze. So you've got to think ahead. So in that kit that you carry, and I bet if you ask any of these guys after they take it, I am sure they changed their IFAC around quite a bit and added more things to it. Probably even the smallest, just like a 9mm, may take 1.5, two packages of wound packing gauze. So, you're going to carry more gauze, a lot of stuff, because then the other thing is, if you've got to sit on that wound and you've got to repack it, and if you're taking care of a wound over several days, you're going to go through boxes of gauze, because you're going to change that out once or twice a day, and you're going to repack it with wet to dry dressings. And then you're going to have the roller gauze. And you can use roller gauze and regular, but when you actually use wound packing gauze, it has a tighter weave than regular gauze, so it's going to stop bleeding a little bit easier and better, and make occlusion a little bit easier, helping it out. So you don't have enough gauze. I tell people, they said, how much gauze should I order? Start by the case, and just order a case a month, because you've got to sit on an open wound that you've got to repack every day and clean at least once a day. You do that for a month, you're going to go through a few cases of gauze. And I had an open wound for 7.5 months on my leg when I was sick, and I God knows how much. I mean, I went through truckloads of gauze. I know when I was in the hospital. I can't imagine it. So, that is the one thing I tell people. No, oh, great, that's cool. You've got a box of rolled gauze with 12 of them in. That's great. That'll get you through, a day or two.
Yeah, one wound. Oh, that's another thing too. When I look at IFACs and the ones that are sold, I'm like, okay, that's good enough to handle like one of each wound, Yeah. Like, when I was in the Marine Corps, the big thing was having 1 million tourniquets. But of course, like, you're thinking about like just the ability to have a chest seal, because you can improvise it, but like it's much, much nicer to just have ready-made shit,
Yeah, have the tourniquets, because if you need a tourniquet, use it. But realistically, the chance of you having, unless you're when you're into like a gunfight, or you're doing in a full-blown assault situation where there's explosives involved, you've got heavy weapons being used, things like that. Yeah, you're going to use tourniquets. But honestly, everyday use, even the normal just gunshot wounds, the chance of you having to use a tourniquet is very minimal. It's just a percentage-wise. I've used them, yes. I used them in street civilian EMS, but I used them a lot more when I worked overseas. But the stuff that I used in civilian EMS wasn't gunshot wounds. It was the chainsaw accident, the home accident, stuff like that. Carrying a tourniquet, you've got to, and especially when you're doing more dangerous activities like using a chainsaw and stuff, because how many people do you know end up cutting something off with a freaking chainsaw, and all you got to do is stick a tourniquet on your chaps or stick it on your saw, for God's sakes. But yeah,
or buy
it's much better.
a ankle med kit made by
Yeah.
Combat Art Training.
Yeah, like that ankle med kit from Combat Art Training, or that backpack insert from Combat Art Training. You know,
I'm actually gonna phase that out and change it into something different. I'm only like 25 orders away from being able to release some new stuff, but
cool.
yeah, you'll dig it. You'll dig it, and I've still got your kit sitting like right here within arm's reach of me. So we'll make some stuff for that too.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it is with the equipment, have the chest seals, have the nasal airways, have the gauze, the wound packing gauze, have the trauma dressings, all those things. But the other thing people don't think of is be able to treat for shock. Have that emergency blanket, that space blanket. Yeah, that shit works. Have it there. That's one of the most important aftercare and immediate aftercare treatments you're going to do. You put a tourniquet on, they're already in shock. Just plain and simple. And they get injured and stuff. The chances of them being in shock is absolute. So, have the different stuff, and you can put it in a small little package. I've shown it many times on my videos. You can carry it every single day. But having that stuff on you is important. Just don't go, oh, I'll have 12 tourniquets. I won't need the gauze. Yeah, you're going to need the gauze. And what you're going to use the most is a fucking Band-Aid. Have the Band-Aids and the boo-boo kits there too.
Yeah, that's I got I kind of copied the pocket organizer for SOE.
Yeah.
And just put a rats on the outside, and then there's the camera. And then cash, and then back behind there, Band-Aids.
Yeah. I mean, like the pocket organizer, I take that and turn it into a full-blown IFAC. I can put, something you can carry in a cargo pocket, your back pocket, whatever, and you've got a full-blown IFAC minus the tourniquet with you. And if you carry, I've been carrying, I tested it for months before I started selling it, was the EDQ tourniquet. It's that small one. It's 31% smaller than a cat. I've got them on my website. I don't know where my camera went.
No, that's my fault. I'm fucking with stuff. Keep talking.
But yeah, this tourniquet is something that's lighter, it's smaller, everything else. You carry it. There's no reason not to carry a tourniquet. I have it on me. I don't have it on me because I'm on this live. I don't care. Check me anytime you see me out. I will have at the very least a tourniquet on me, but most likely, probably 99% of the time, I've got a full-blown IFAC on. And within arm's distance in a bag or something, I've got a boo-boo kit and a more extensive medical kit.
We got a question from Mark Curtis, who is in my Patrolling the Homestead class, which you guys can take here the day before, the 2 days before Alumni Weekend, and then at Tactical Response, and then you can also take it in PA the weekend before the muster. Mark Curtis said, is there a reusable alternative to gauze, cotton towels, perhaps?
Well, the problem with cotton towels is, yes, are they clean? Gauze isn't sterile. When you open it out of the package and you start stuffing it in somebody's wound, I hate to tell you, the first thing that anything you're going to do in a higher level of care situation is give them antibiotics. So people so worry about sterility when they're doing that with an open wound. As soon as that opening in the skin occurred, bacteria got inside that. Cotton towels, yeah, but are they properly cleaned? And here's the other thing people don't think of. Oh, well, I cleaned them with bleach. That bleach stays on the towel. When you put that bleach inside of a wound, that's not going to be good for it. You could actually cause burning depending on how much bleach you use to sterilize it. What other chemicals are on there? And the other bad thing about cotton towels are the fibers. The cotton fibers will actually get into the wound channel, and then you've got a debridement situation. You could boil stuff. There's other things, but you know what? Gauze is cheap. Just buy the gauze. Just buy a shit ton of it. Buy it by the case. I've got it on my website. Go together in a group. All of you do group purchase. Do it once a month, once every couple months. Buy a bunch. It's much cheaper. I can accommodate how you might. I've had people order 20 cases of of rolled gauze or 4x4s too, just stuff like that. I would say just get the stuff that what it's used for.
Right on. What are some like medical myths that are often talked about that maybe the funnier ones or the most common ones?
Well, common ones I think of first is always the expiration dates on medications. If you still think a medicine expires, there's very small handful of medicines that actually expire on their expiration date. Nitroglycerin is one. It starts to degrade quite a bit. But the other thing is medications like antibiotics. You could store that if you store in a cool, dry place, dark place. They've got studies out there. The military did a study where they did it with 3 common antibiotics. 25 years later, they tested it, and the one that lost the most potency still had 80, it was like 83, 85% potency left in the medicine. I'll take that if I need an antibiotic and I don't have any. I'd give that to my kids. So that's a big one. The sterile myth, of an open cut. That's probably my funniest one. It's like, hey, your skin is your largest organ. Its main job is to protect the inside of your body. When that is open to the world, bacteria falls in. You're looking at it. Well, guess what? When you're breathing out, you're exhaling, you're removing the trash from your lungs and your bloodstream. All that carbon dioxide. So you're putting germs right back in. Now it's your own germs, yeah, but everything that's in the air gets in that. So sterility goes out the window. And the other myth is, when you're in an OR, it's not sterile either.
Yeah.
Yeah, vodka, absolutely. Yeah. The granddaddy of it.
Yeah, so Sonny Pazika said vodka doesn't expire. That's a granddaddy of meds. If that's good to go, so are 95% of meds. Now, Sonny told me that in his Spetsnaz days, they would carry a flask of vodka, but sometimes they'd look at it, they'd be like, I could use it on that, or I could save it so I could drink it. Yeah. Which I totally understand, although I don't really drink anymore.
That's pain medicine for later on. And that's still used. I mean, people also believe probably some of the other things that people don't realize. Like when people talk about, they use leeches when they used to use leeches years ago. There are sterile medicinal leeches being used right now.
Wow.
There's maggots that are still used for wound care to this day. You go to hospitals that have it, they have them in there. They have maggots, they have leeches. They still use that. And the other thing is honey. Honey is one of the best, antimicrobial, wound healers there are, and it's still used in lots of medications. Store honey. If you don't have triple antibiotic cream or whatever, put honey on it. It's going to protect it. It's going to heal it.
We have Josh asking, Bic pen in the trachea?
Absolutely. Always carry a Bic pen with you and a pocket knife and stick that in your trachea. Actually, would it work? Yeah, it would. Yeah. If you want to do a surgical airway, it could. Keeping it, actually securing it would be, but it's really not much different than what we use realistically to do a surgical airway and put it in. There's a couple different ones where we actually put a tube in and down into the trachea, and the other one is just in an opening. It's a small tube that goes right in above where the lungs go in the chorea. So it depends on the type it is, but actually you really could use a Bic pen to do that.
And then Uncle Gunn said, even the fish antibiotics, are those really safe to store, plus or minus ingest?
I hate to tell you this, but all those antibiotics that you see in pets, like dogs, cats, even the fish antibiotics, it's just a smaller dose. You just got to do the math and figure out what it is. I mean, on my business cards, I always print up on the back. I've got different dosages, how long you take it, the duration and stuff, and what it's for, of different antibiotics. It's the same stuff. It's the exact same stuff. The dog ones, all they do is at Big Pharma, they stop the machine, they put in new labels, and they turn it on again. It's the same amoxicillin. And a lot of those fish antibiotics come in a pill, and it says 500 milligrams. Yeah, I would take it. I would give it to people. I've had to use it when we've had nothing else in other parts of the country.
Then Sonny is asking for your opinion on cayenne pepper.
Oh, yeah, cayenne powder. Yeah, absolutely. It's still used to this day. It can be a wound healer. It can close wound, and it's also that is part of, in some hemostatics, cayenne pepper is actually one of the ingredients.
Then we got, goddamn, just lost my comments. All right. Then we got Zach Bush, Definitive Training Solutions. I'm posting a link for his website. He's coming to Florida here in a couple weeks, so check him out. We'll be doing entangled gunfighting and definitive shotgun. And Joshua, my mother-in-law had bad bed sores afterward. Towards the end of her life, a honey balm was the only thing that closed them up.
Yep. Still used every day. It's something that, that's why I tell people store and don't get like the store processed honey. I mean, will that work? Yeah, but there's other junk in it. Go get some raw honey and store. It never goes bad.
And local raw honey is also good for like your allergies, right?
Allergies, sore throat. You can mix that. Use honey. You can make a tincture up with it. Honey, garlic. All those things. There's so much that can be done and mixed with. I'm studying the tinctures and the herbal medicine now, but raw honey's got so many different properties for it. And I'm going to be including, as I'm more comfortable with the herbal medicine stuff I'm doing, but I'm actually pairing up with a couple of people where we're going to be doing some joint classes on who are true herbal medicine experts. So I'm going to show traditional way, and then she's going to kind of talk about what herbs, tinctures, things like that you would use if you didn't have the regular medicines.
Man, it may be kind of hokey pokey, hippie-ish, but I'd be interested if you could ask them if with herbal medicine, the plants that we need grow more when we need them. And I've heard stuff about that. I'm a big believer in manifestation and the energy in the universe being a thing.
Right.
Like if you have negative thoughts all the time, negative shit happens to you. If you have positive thoughts, positive things happen.
Right.
And so, man, like we had a shaman talk to, well, I don't know if he was a shaman or his friend was a shaman, what the deal was. Anyways, we had read the book Tales of a Shaman's Apprentice. Cool book. I think you would really enjoy it, Chuck.
Yeah.
And it's about this dude who went to the Amazon rainforest, and apparently everything we ever needed for medicine was actually growing there. And we just, we've resorted to pharmaceuticals and such, and we don't really use it. But one thing that got said was that, like, right before 9/11, there was something, some plant that was, I don't remember because it was more than a decade ago, but it was good for keeping you alive if you lost blood. And said apparently this field that never grew it all of a sudden was just full of it right before 9/11. So again, a little hippie-ish. I probably sound crazy on that, but I'd be very interested to hear what their perspective is on it.
I'll ask her. I mean, she was at
Might make a cool video.
Festival. She's been at the Kentucky Sustainable Living Conference. So yeah, I mean, we're putting together something now. I'll be releasing it soon, and so will she. But you have to do that because eventually medications are going to run out. Whether you've got a year's worth, 2 years worth, and also depends on, how sick is this person you're taking care of. Well, because you may have one person where you're using multiple. Somebody gets septic, and you're taking care of them. You're going to use multiple different medications to take care of them. Intravenously, and you can go through a medical, your stock of medicines pretty quickly. So having those same equals in the herbal medicine, and all medicines come from plants anyway. I mean, we're just going back to the more raw form of it and creating those natural tinctures.
Right on. We got Prepared Citizen Jay Addison, who was on here recently. What's up, man? He's doing some medical stuff. Have you seen? Yeah, you've seen his tourniquet holder, right?
I've got a step mount. I've got it. He sent it to me. I'm actually been playing with it, trying to make it work for things it wasn't meant to be worked for. And I've got it, mounted on Molly, mounted on the gun and stuff like that. But I've actually been playing around with it to mount other medical stuff, like even a small med kit that could be enclosed in a pouch. I've been playing around with some of John's stuff.
Tear off pouches and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Just well, not even a tear off pouch, just some small pouches, some of his freebies, just something small to see what I could get in it to where you have an all IFAC there like that. And then I've also been putting it on. I've played with that set mount. I don't know how many times on how many different things, and I think it's a great idea. He's probably got the best tourniquet holder out there as far as mounting to a weapon platform that there is.
Yeah, I really dig it. It's funny how many people like get mad at it and they're like, take that tourniquet off your rifle. Like, dude, medical is a part of gunfighting, right?
Yeah, he sells medical equipment. I promote him. I mean, he's a great guy. He's got a great company. We should work together. I mean, do I wish I thought of something like that? Yeah, but I'm going to promote his stuff, and I send people to him when they ask me about, hey, go check Jay out. He's got this great set mount, that you can mount to a weapon. Because, hey, what's the best sling attachment? Screw your sling. What if you lose your sling? You'll have it on your freaking gun. And it's out of the way. I like what he does. I like some of his innovations he's done, and I like to promote other people in small business.
I just got reminded too, when we were talking about vodka, I was going to say, I've also used vodka to degrease a lot of threads when mounting shit to my guns.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And now, is whiskey going to be okay in place of vodka?
The problem with whiskey, yes and no, it's got sugar in it, and sugar is used to heal wounds. It just depends on what it is. I mean, the more pure of a whiskey, the better if you've got to use that. But honestly, what people don't realize is they think, oh, I can't debride. I don't have saline. What can I disinfect with it? If you can drink the water, you can irrigate with the water. Plain and simple. So if it's safe enough to drink, you can irrigate with it. Plain tap water. Run tap water, fill it up. You could irrigate any wound with tap water. You don't need saline. I've done it. Take a water bottle, cut a hole in it. You don't even need a syringe. Cut a little hole in the top of the cap. You can use that. I've done that. I did that in Africa and stuff when we didn't have the areas we were in. It was just a lot easier to irrigate wounds like that because we didn't have the saline, and we didn't use saline on local nationals. We saved that, our limited stock, for our own people. But when we were treating other people, that's what we do. It's perfectly safe. I've done it to other people. I did it at SRF to a couple people came up. I didn't have my full kit with me. I had a water bottle. I irrigated a wound like that. I irrigated a wound at the last live tissue class. We had a little frag incident. Is Max still in here? He knows all about that. But
he knows all about it. When he first told me about it, I was like, huh. Like I know he didn't do anything like bad, like, but I wonder how he took it and what the story was. But I mean, it was just circumstance. Fucking could have happened to anyone.
He felt so bad, and it wasn't bad. I mean, I irrigated, but I literally took a water bottle, poked a hole in. That's how I irrigated it, So, it's you've got to be able to innovate what you have. So if you could drink the water, you can irrigate with it, as long as it doesn't have sediments or anything. If it comes out of a stream, you want to filter it. But if it's safe to drink, once you filter it, you don't have to boil it or sterilize it. It's still good to go. Just you don't want to use really hot water or really cold water on it. You want a room temperature type water to irrigate with.
Well, back on whiskey. Anyone's looking for whiskey, try Heraclitus Select. You're good people. Now, what about for like patient comfort? One thing that I've been asking about is like nicotine. Like, so a dude's lost a lot of blood. For me, like, please give me some nicotine so I can be comfortable and less stressed out.
I wouldn't give you nicotine, and I'll tell you why. If you're losing a lot of blood, and I just got it stopped, the problem with nicotine is it interferes with the platelets in the clotting process of your body. So, I'm probably not going to do it. Well, and it depends on your wound. If you've got a gut wound, I'm not giving you anything by mouth until we make sure it's, you don't have holes in your gut somewhere on the inside. Now, if I know I'm confident I've got the bleeding stopped and it's not going to re-get, and I'm confident with, I'll probably give you a dip or a cigarette or whatever it is that you want, because patient comfort is highly important. But there's also things to do that. If you want a sedative for a patient, you can buy it all day long. Everybody here that wants it can go out and buy one all day long. Actually, 2 of them. Many people here take it that are sitting in this group. Benadryl is one. It's
Really?
used as a sedative, double the dose. There's your sedative. And here's the other one. What's everybody like to take to help them sleep? It's all natural.
I don't use it, but I know what you're talking about. I forget it. Say it, please.
Melatonin.
Yeah.
Sedative. Give them a double dose. They'll be asleep before you know it. You know. The other thing is you want to have a library. You know what I mean? You want to have you want to have a library of books and stuff that you can have references, because you can't remember all this shit. I do.
Right.
Jay just put one up there. Yeah, When There Is No Doctor. Yeah, that's a book that I take with me. The other one is Ditch Medicine from Hugh Coffey. If you can find one, and when you do, it's going to be expensive. You know, buy it. I'm telling you, I have not traveled anywhere in the country, in the world, on any assignment that book doesn't go with me as a reference.
Now, is that out of print?
Yeah, it's out of print. I've actually sent him messages that said, please put this back in print. And I've heard they're going to reprint it and release another printing. But you can find them. They're not cheap. You're going to pay $50, $60, $70 for it.
Yeah, some of this stuff too is like you can find PDFs on it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like you're necessarily stealing if it's a thing that's not available anymore, and you just find it so that you can have it. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're, you know, like one of my pet peeves is like, you know, people who would steal their neighbor's Wi-Fi and shit. Like, that's fucking gay. Stop that. Yeah. Now, Sonny said vodka for patient comfort. What do you think about that?
I mean, you know what? That's a sedative. I mean, if they're able to swallow, they have a patent airway, they don't have any type of a belly wound or anything. Just remember what alcohol does. It thins the blood. Okay. So if you're worried about coagulation, or you're worried about any clotting or anything like that, giving alcohol, be careful with it. Don't let him tip the whole bottle back. You know, Sonny, he's Russian. He's going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to take vodka a lot better than most of us. Also, take that into you know, thinking. I mean, somebody, you know, your size versus
Ashley.
Yeah. Or
don't let Ashley have more than 2 drinks, please.
Yeah. I mean, it's you've got to think about that. But no, I know Sonny was meaning as a joke, but honestly, you know, alcohol can be used as a sedative. It can be used if you don't have a pain reliever. It's something that can take the edge of the pain off. But there's a lot of over-the-counter things that you can have that you can stock up on if you're not able to get, you know, prescribed medicines.
What was that book that you said was out of print again?
Ditch Medicine.
Ditch Medicine, and that is and Paul says 75.
Yep, that's probably the going price
on Amazon.
Yep, that's about right. Another good book is the Special Operations Medical Handbook from the Special Forces Medics. It's the handbook they use in the 18 Delta course. That's a great reference book. The Pararescue Medical Handbook, the PJ's Handbook, is also a great reference book. I've got both of those. Where There Is No Dentist, because nobody thinks about dental emergencies. I don't give a shit how big or bad you are or anything else. If you've got a rotten tooth and a toothache, it's going to take you out. Being prepared for that. People don't think about that.
We've all seen Castaway. We know how to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the real thing. Do you have the tools? Do you have the stuff to do it? I sell that in my big kits, my Homestead medical. I'll put dental, but I'm actually coming out, which should be probably in the next 2 weeks. I've got a dental emergency kit that's an all-encompass dental that has more advanced stuff. It's not like you're going to get a bottle of clove oil, which clove oil is one of the few things that does work in pain, but I'm going to have a few other things in there for suggestions, plus equipment and tools, a full dental tool set. No, not one of these cheap plastic ones that you buy at a dollar store. It's a real one that you can sterilize. use on that because people don't know. And in my advanced class, we go over dental emergencies. I show you things, how to extract a tooth. There's a way to do it. That's one of the first things I had to do when I got in the Middle East. We went out, the first time we went out to take care of local nationals, I'm pulling teeth. I wasn't a fucking dentist. I'd never done it before, but I'm going in there and I learned real quick. The guy showed me, he went, go here, you do this. And he pops out a teeth because their teeth are horrible. I mean, horribly rotten. And they were breaking as we're trying to extract them. And to get a broken tooth out, that's surgical. And we're going, here's some aspirin. And this will make you feel better. Out you go, which is a total lie. Oregano essential oil does also. I mean, all these different things that you can have. And those are some of the things that I'm trying to bring in as specialized kits for the stuff you don't think of.
Now, quick question for you guys. Did you guys see the Chuck's website when I did that right there? Because I'm still trying to figure out this live stream stuff. Or did I just share it to you, Chuck?
You may have just shared it to me. I don't know.
Oh.
No. You had it up earlier. I saw it. Yeah, Jay, I was a dentist that day, and I've done it a few other times. It's no fun. And extracting a tooth sucks. There's no easy way about it. It is as brutal as you think it is.
Okay, everyone saw it. All right, good.
All right, good.
So, what else you got going on, man?
I got classes coming up. I've got one at the end of June, going to be in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's going to be my that one's going to be a little different. It's one of my Homestead medical level class, but that's going to be a combination of trauma, and it's going to be 1 day trauma classes. The second day is going to be the prolonged care. That'll be in Bowling Green, Kentucky. You can actually get to that class at the Kentucky Sustainable Living Conference website. They're actually hosting me down there for this 2-day class. I'm going to be at Tactical Response that Monday and Tuesday after alumni. I think it's like the 15th and 16th.
Okay.
I'm doing a 2-day class there. They're hosting me, and I've got some private classes coming. I've got classes coming up in Ohio, New London, Ohio. I've got one coming up in the Charlotte area in August, the end of August. That'll be going on my website tomorrow. I've got then the usual festivals in the fall. I'm going to be coming down to you sometime in, I think we said November, December.
Yeah, we got to look at that. You should. What I might try to do if I were you is I got Sunny coming. I forget the dates. Sunny, if you want to let them know the dates that you're coming to Florida, and go ahead and drop a link if you'd like. But you might want to try to make it to that, and then you and I can do some gun stuff that week, and then we could do your class. I actually had a student today message me asking. She's like, "Hey, do you know where I can take a TCCC class?" And so I told her to watch the live stream she might be on right now. But I recommended you and then of course like the immediate action medical attack to response prepared patriot as a pre squared away class.
They do.
I've heard good things about Dark Angel Medical's class, and
he does a really good course. They've got their shit squared away. There's a couple other people who does. I mean, Refuge Medical puts on a pretty good basic class that they do. If you want the basic stop the bleed and stuff like that, they don't go too much more into advanced stuff.
I think they have a 3-day class that
they've got some. It's three levels. There are 3 levels of classes, and they do good training. And I'm leaving somebody out. I'll probably think of it when we hang up. But yeah, all those people do excellent training. I mean, if you don't want to take me, you don't like me, you don't want to take one of my classes, contact me. I'll tell you who to go take a class from, so you're not wasting your money. I mean, that's the thing is vet your medical instructors. You know how many people are out there teaching medical classes? They've never even fucking treated a patient. They've never put a tourniquet on somebody for real. And I could tell it immediately. They're standing all in front of them. Look, when you put that on, it fucking hurts people, and they like to swing at you, and how you do it, because the first thing they want to do is take it off. So, vet your instructors, just like firearms. You know that just as well as I do. It's no different than taking a firearms course. I saw Mark asked a question. What was it? Something about alumni weekend, I think. Oh, my block of instruction. No, I'll have unless you have a medical kit, just to look at it and you want to compare it with some of the things I recommend, you could do that and put it to test. But as far as the stuff there, you don't need anything.
So November 23rd and 24th, Sonny is going to be doing his class here, and then on November 25th is the conflict management class, which you should do as a businessman, Chuck. You'll get a ton out of it just on that alone. You actually used to do
Oh,
it
yeah.
for big businesses.
I want to take all of Sonny's classes. Absolutely.
Yeah. He is fucking great.
Yeah. That's a apps that's not like a wish list. That's an absolute list.
Jay wants to do your live tissue class. Well, you should probably, unless, I don't know, maybe you want to stop in Alabama too. But otherwise, you can plan something. Either you come to Florida, or if you want to host him, let him know. Do Homestead Medical in December. I can probably get people to attend
I can do that.
From Casey.
Yeah. December in Florida, I'll be more than happy to do that. That's a hell of a lot better than going. And I'm going up. I'm going to be up north. I'm going to be in Wisconsin. They're putting together class now. I've got classes coming up in Tennessee, Dixon, Tennessee. We're working on dates right now. I'm just waiting on that group. I'm going to be, Wisconsin, Iowa, Texas, and then down in Florida too. So I'll be kind of all over. If you're anywhere close to any of that, just keep an eye on my website, and I'll post the classes as they come out and stuff. I'll be posting a schedule up this coming week as far as what the rest of the year is starting to look like.
Adam Hall said, I took a medical class, and the instructor refused to put a tourniquet on me because he said it would hurt.
Yeah, no shit. It's supposed to hurt. Yeah, that's the thing is that's the type of medical. American Red Cross, they teach tourniquets now in their first aid course, but they show it. Oh, you don't want to put it on. It's going to hurt people. You go to any of my classes, I'm sure I've still got a bruise right there from a class I taught last week. I'm sure I've got them on here. I know I've got one on my leg. Every class, because I'll put one on and my hand will be absolutely numb to the point where I can't even grip a pen. It fucking hurts. I probably have permanent nerve damage from it, but I want people to put it on. It hurts. I want you to feel it. And then now try to shoot your gun. Now try to maneuver and move, because you could still get back in the fight with a tourniquet on, but you need to know what it's like.
Yeah, that's how and for a while I was doing tourniquets as the very first thing in class, because it was like the class was shorter and I was just like, okay, we're going to get the hard thing done now.
Right,
and that way too, no one can say, oh no, I'm not going to do that, because it's the very first thing. But now how we do it is day 2 in Rifleman 1 and Carry Pistol 1. We do kind of a simple, hey, this is how you put it on. Go ahead, practice a few times. And then, we've already done cover drills. And then it's basically shoot, get behind cover, continue shooting, scan top off, apply tourniquet, and then continue shooting. And even if it you do want to get good at one hand stuff, you do want to get good at using the other hand and nub hand and all that. But I even will have them like, okay, tourniquets on your right arm, just shoot your gun like normal, even if you're right-handed. Yeah. Because then they can also see like, okay, as long as these things are working, I can still do it.
Right.
Eventually, you won't be able to, but
you're still going to do it, because your biggest thing is that's the only treatment you're going to do on the X is throw a tourniquet on. You still want to eliminate the threat. Once that threat's down, then you could address the rest of the injury and do the rest of the treatment.
I'm like, I advise people, if there's no reason for you to stay there, just completely leave. You're not fleeing a crime. You're going somewhere where you don't have to shoot people anymore.
Right.
That would be a good place to do everything else.
Well, I mean, people don't realize this, that's the only treatment you want to use, because you have 90 seconds. And here's the reason. Yeah, people say, oh, I thought it was 3 minutes. It is. You'll bleed out in 3 minutes, but in 90 seconds, you're going to be unconscious, to where once you go unconscious from blood loss, that it doesn't matter. You're dead anyway. So you've got 90 seconds to get that tourniquet on. and occlude and stop the bleeding. But you could still fight. You could still do what you need to do and eliminate that threat until you can actually finish taking care of that wound.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too, is that I kind of want to talk to you about. Was I know when Max and Mike recently did your live tissue class, they said that they thought there was going to be a lot more tourniquet stuff in there, but it really wasn't so much like that, which actually does make sense. Now, just so you know, we're all clear, that is the reason why I practice tourniquet drills. I treat it like clearing a malfunction, a reload, a draw stroke. It's like, get this thing on, because I've got 90 seconds and probably I've had to kill the bad guy before I got that thing on.
Well, on the pigs, we do some of it, but the thing about it is we want you taking care of the wound, evaluating the wound, looking in the wound, see how it bleeds, how to get that stopped, because a lot of it doesn't require a tourniquet, okay? And we want you to get that. And also the class that we had with the people we had, they knew how to put on a fucking tourniquet. I showed them a few tricks, maybe things that they hadn't seen, how to do, what to think of, how to stage it. But I'm not going to waste your time in going through and regurgitate shit you've done and heard 1,000 times. I'm going to see it. But when we got out on the range and we started doing drills and stuff, we threw more tourniquet stuff in there, to make it in, to put it into the scenarios. But in the lab itself, where we're actually doing the pigs, no, not so much. You don't need it. We want to get more of the treatment aspect and see the different types of wounds and stuff there is.
Yeah, practice the stuff that you don't get to do, for free at home whenever you want.
Gunfighter was asking about the myth about people taking medicine or high blood pressure medicine not to be able to use a tourniquet. The only thing you have to worry about is people who are taking blood thinners. And the reason is they're going to bruise a lot. They're going to have this horrible bruise because they bleed easy. I've had plenty of people who have high blood pressure, who take high blood pressure medicine, go through the class and put tourniquets on multiple times, never had an issue. So the only thing I would be concerned about is somebody who has a pre-existing injury somewhere in that limb, or they're taking some blood thinners.
And can you list the different types of blood thinners that you would be worried about?
Anything that's a blood thinner, even people who take aspirin. I mean, if somebody's going to know, I could sit here and tell them to you, but it's going to sound like fucking Chinese to you. Okay. But there's several different medications that are blood thinners. But over the counter, even aspirin. That's why somebody takes an aspirin daily. When you hear people, oh, my doctor told me to take an aspirin daily. Well, why are you taking it? Because he told me to take it. They don't even know why they're taking it. It's as a blood thinner. It helps break up clots. Keeps people who have had any type of previous stroke issues or heart attacks, anything like that.
And Sai says tourniquet is equivalent of tap rack, important but overemphasized, as that's not always the thing. It's not.
It's not always the thing. That's why we don't emphasize it. I mean, yes, carry them. Yes, we're going to train them, but packing that wound, direct pressure, and the other treatments, that's what you need to do, and that's what you need to learn how to do, and doing those reps over and over and over and over, so that way you could do it in that high stress environment.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell too, people who have not practiced it, like they're usually putting on backwards.
Yeah, and Max brings up a great point. People don't think about your blood sweep. It's finding your wounds. How do you find them? And he says it's crazy how hard it is to find wounds for real. That's something that's changed my mindset. You'll miss them. And I can't tell you on the pigs, we had wounds where they missed actual wounds that weren't bleeding, because not every wound is going to bleed. For the most part, gunshot wounds in the chest or the torso, in the abdominal area, they don't bleed. They don't bleed outwardly. They bleed inside. You don't see outward blood, but that's usually on the limbs is the only place you're going to see it. So you've got to do that sweep and go. And you see people, they're just rubbing their hand. Fuck that. Put your hands like this, like a rake, and you're going to rake down and dig down. So when you find that wound, your finger goes in it. And that's what you need to do. You need to get your finger into the wound. Make sure there's nothing obstructing it. You're not going to push any debris or anything down, and remove that stuff. It's not, everybody's like, oh, I've got to be so brutal. Another thing is when you come up to a wound, before you start packing it, scoop the blood out. Get your hands in there, scoop the blood that's out so you can see what you're doing. And again, make sure there's nothing in there that you're going to start packing in there, and you've got a debris, some sort of debris in there. You're going to push up and tear an artery even farther.
So I got one that made me think about. There's a guy who is a friend of one of my students, and he said, "Oh, so you teach classes?" I'm like, "Yep." He said, "Well, if the world ever goes to hell, then I'll definitely come to you for training." I'm like, "Well, that's probably too late, and we're getting close." And I was like, I don't make a big deal out of it. If you don't want to do it, I'm not here to sell you on it, But I suggested, well, you should probably, as he said, I was in the National Guard back in the 80s or 70s or something. And I said, well, you should probably at least take a medical class. Because for sure a lot has changed about that. He said, I'm good. The simplest thing is anything from the belly button up to the neck, just pack it. And I went, yeah, don't do that. That's definitely going to make it worse.
I've still got people who come up to me and go, I don't do all that. I've got tampons. I don't need any wound packing gauze or everything. You go right ahead and do that. You use this. That's great. And you can't change their mind. They're going to kill somebody, Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Please tourniquet your neck with your belt while you're at it.
Yes. Those are the people here. I want you to put this around your neck, turn until, they turn blue. Then leave them for 10 minutes.
See those rocks? Eat them all now.
Exactly.
This will prevent you from taking bullets.
Josh DeWalt, how are you?
Hello, sir. Hey, did you get your pocket magazine carrier yet? I know it shipped out, Josh.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a live tissue class. I would say the fall. I've got to get with Bob, and we got to get with the vets and stuff and do that. But I'm going to be doing another class up at Bob's, another 2-day class. I think Lewis and I have been talking. We're going to put together kind of a more advanced small unit tactics / medical scenario classes where it's live fire and stuff. We just, we work well together. We just seem to mesh. Our teaching styles are very similar, and it works out well. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to have other classes coming. If you want to host a class, get a hold of me. Send me an email. I need 6 people at least, depending on where you are. I don't go to Maryland. I don't go to Illinois. I don't go to California.
He's got warrants.
Yeah, that wouldn't. Well, sort of. Yeah, I can't take with me what I need to take with me.
Right.
And DC.
Yeah.
So, you want to host a class or you want to know more about it, please get a hold of me.
Long Dave Repo. Sonny said Luce just left here yesterday. He's alive and in one piece.
Yeah, I was.
That's good.
Yeah, I talked to him earlier this afternoon. He actually called me while he was driving. Funny thing is, make fun of him. He got pulled over while he was talking to me. Trooper pulled him over, but he got out of it.
We just got a new SUV. Ashley bought a Sequoia. She called it her big ass gangster car, and we still have the paper plate on it, the license plate. And she's like, "Oh man, we need to get that update. I think it's expired now." And so we're driving by the gas station. There's a cop parked there, and she's like, "Oh man, he's probably gonna run our plate." And so we come up to us, like the cop's right here. We drive past to the stop sign, take a right, and as we're taking a right, Ashley does this, looking at the cop. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's great. Look at him. That will help."
Yeah. Stare at him and see if he's following you. Yeah, that doesn't look suspicious.
Max said, "Sonny, he's in one piece, but is he mangled?" Probably a little bit, but he's probably a lot tougher. I definitely feel tougher after leaving Sonny's classes, or more aware of how tough I need to be, at least. We did when I did his Fight Like a Girl class. You would think, that sounds like a women's self-defense class, but It's definitely not that. It's more like getting close, position yourself like this, move his head like this, grab trachea like this, insert blade here. It's one of the most fucking badass classes ever. It also made me realize that, goddamn, I do not fully understand the way the human body moves. Very, very cool class. So he said, Max, not mangled yet. He has 8,550 push-ups to do.
Well, that was my favorite. When Sonny was teaching the Fight Like a Girl class, I was teaching a class too. So on breaks, on one of the breaks, I said, we need to go out here and see if, Lewis is still in one piece. I want to see him get his ass kicked by Sonny. And literally, as I'm walking out and walking up the parking lot, I see Lewis hit the ground. I just threw my arms up and I went, greatest part of the day right there. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we all owed Lewis after that. One thing with the push-ups too, because he has drills that it's like you have to do this many push-ups for doing this thing on the drill. I've now started punctuating my sewing with sets of push-ups, and I've actually found that it makes sewing more bearable. Like, I look forward to stopping and doing push-ups now because it makes me feel like I have energy.
Right.
So like when you have to do a lot of computer work, and then it's like you just can't see anymore, and your brain is just wrecked from trying to look up and keep the screens going. So I've found just even stuff like that. Just do a huge set of push-ups, walk around, move. Grab a weight. I got a dumbbell right there that I've been using as a kettlebell, and that makes life a lot easier. Sam Russell has a question. Any kind of words for the people who don't get medical training because they're afraid of getting sued?
Yeah, I'll give you some kind words. They're a fucking idiot.
Yep.
Now, if you want to sit there and you want to watch your loved one get died or somebody like that, nobody says you have to act. I'm a paramedic. I'm a licensed paramedic, but if I'm not on duty or I'm not acting under medical authority, I have no duty to act to somebody. I do it because I'm going to help somebody. I'm not going to watch some kid bleed to death. I'm not going to watch some kid who's got hit by a car and they're waiting on an ambulance, because now you don't wait on an ambulance. It's not there in 5 minutes. It's taking 15, 20, 30 minutes, because guess what? The healthcare shortage affects fucking EMS also. It's even worse. It's a damn disaster. That's why I left public service. So yeah, you are going to help people. You're stupid. And here's the thing. Tourniquets are covered under the Good Samaritan Act. Just like if you used an AED, just like if you did CPR. And here's the thing. How many people are going to sue you? I don't know very many lawsuits out there at all where somebody actually saved somebody's life, did correct medical, treatment, and got sued for it. I know of one or two that was brought to try, was brought and it was thrown out by the judge. I don't know of any that was successfully litigated that I'm aware of.
Yeah. And, granted, I've never had to go to court for anything. But I would say that fear of lawsuits and legal troubles is a big thing that holds a lot of people back. Maybe they're making an excuse and saying, well, I can't because of blah, 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 legal, blah, blah, blah. But I've also seen it in business where people have put more effort into legitimizing their business for the government, trying to patent, t-shirt designs and shit like that, where it's like, dude, if you were just hustling, it would be more effective. And even if, in that sense, but also, more important than the legal side, what are you allowed to do? Think about the moral side. What can you live with? Like when I teach use of force, you got the legal side, which is what are you allowed to do? The tactical side is what should you do? And then the moral side is what can you live with? And all three of those can be conflicting. The what can you live with, arguably, is probably the most important thing.
Well, the way I look at it is, are you really going to you take training not only for yourself, but for your wife, for your kids, all of that, because you're not going to sit there and rub your hands together and go, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Because you're afraid, oh, Well, I'm not certified. I won't have a certification. There's nothing that says I can't teach you how to close a wound, how to debride a wound, how to do a surgical debridement of the wound. I just can't certify you to go out and open up Joe Blow's Wound Care Clinic. What you do in your own home is your own fucking business and none of mine. Plain and simple. And if you think I just want to help the people because they want to help their family, you know, their group, their mag group, whatever the case is they, because when you don't have, because guess what? It's not just end of the world bullshit. Go to any disaster, any hurricane. You're sitting in Hurricane Alley in Florida. So, you know, any hurricane, there's no hospital systems because guess what? The people who go to the hospital, the paramedics who work on the trucks, the cops, they're affected too because they live in the community. So no help's coming. You're it.
Exactly.
When Katrina hit New Orleans, there was not a functioning hospital system whatsoever for 6 weeks in New Orleans. The only hospital was the hospital ship Comfort and Mercy that was off in the bay parked there. None of the other hospitals could accept patients.
And you don't want to wait till that moment to learn how to do this stuff.
Yeah, and do it now, and it's worth the investment because I can promise you this, and believe me, I'm a huge proponent of firearms trainers. You know that. I train, I encourage everybody to do it. But your likelihood of using that gun versus having to use medical, you're going to use medical. I promise you, you're going to use medical. You may never have to use that firearm. Train, be prepared, just like carrying that tourniquet. But at some point in time, you're going to have to use medical on yourself or on a loved one. You know, I mean, it's just going to happen. Or you may do something stupid like, you know, try to set your porch on fire or whatever the case is, that have a burn, all these different things. But you need to know how to do it and how to take care of it long term, not just stop the bleed. Okay, great, I've stopped the bleed. I can't leave this tourniquet on forever. I need to learn how to take it off. Or what are the steps to take it off? What do I look for? When do I take it off? All these things. Now I've taken it off, the bleeding stopped, but how do I fix this big gaping fucking hole in my arm or my leg? What do I do with it? And how do I make it better? It's skills. You know, that's all it is. It's just knowledge and skill. It's not rocket science. I can pass on the knowledge and skill to you to where you can put it from here to your hands and actually help somebody with it.
And it you know, there's a lot of things you have to learn to get really good at this.
Yeah.
But also you can think just in terms of everyday life, car accident, something like that, something that could just happen to you. It's not necessarily that you have to be an absolute expert in it. You have to sustain them long enough for an ambulance to get there.
Well, even if the ambulance is coming, I've had people send me pictures of their kids. Oh, my kid's got a cut. Can I close this? Who've had my classes, or should I go? No, go get it glued. Or I've said, yeah, you could close that. I had it was a couple, it was a husband and wife took my class. I get a picture of this big cut on somebody's leg, and then about a half hour later, I get a picture of it closed with staples. And it was this guy cut himself, cut his leg, and his wife stapled it up, and they're calling me going, it did exactly like you said, and they did a hell of a job. Because they bought the equipment, they had it on hand. But I've also had a lot of people tell me how they've saved them thousands of dollars in dental, vet bills because they've been able to apply these same stuff to their livestock, and do the same thing. So, it is stuff you can use every day.
One thing Sonny said, I got to get Sonny on here too. He's been just dropping fucking great quotes all day.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a good record for me to look at, and I'll just add it to my notebook from his class. But he said, like good Dr. Peterson says, being untrained or weak is covered by virtue signaling of being a good person.
Yeah.
So,
well, his other one is, and by the way, when it gets violent in less than 2% of situations, you'll be justified to shoot faces. I mean, that's
what drop guns are for, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But
just kidding. Not legal advice.
You're going to use medical. I promise you, at some point in time, for a loved one, for yourself. At some point, I guarantee you, everybody here in the chat right now can think of times when they've had to use medical or gun. There's stuff that you could actually do this to where you could save yourself money. I've had many people call me and said, man, you've saved me so many trips going to the ER because I can look at a wound and go, that doesn't need stitches. I can use a butterfly on it, or I can use this. I don't have to go, because you go to a doctor, yeah, that's a bad cut. Let me look at it. It's $1,000. Oh, by the way, you don't need stitches. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, so you're more aware of injury. So then you'll know whether or not you truly do need to go seek a higher level of care.
Yeah, I've got a paper cutter that I use for cutting Velcro, and over in my cutting room over there. And thankfully, it hasn't been deep, but I could, it wouldn't necessarily slice an artery, but I can make it deep enough where it would matter.
Yeah.
And I've already sliced my hand 5 times just grabbing it, just because I'm moving too quickly.
Right.
And every one of us drives a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
The easiest time where you could get in an emergency would just be on your way to work.
Absolutely.
And you got to fucking go there anyways. It could be you, could be someone else. And think about, what can you live with? Can you live with knowing that you chose not to be prepared? You chose not to bring your medical. You chose to not be the guy who can actually do something about it.
Yeah. And Sonny, again, great. So medical, empty hand combatives, de-escalation, they aren't exotic and sexy. Medical's not sexy, but here's the thing, you'll use it. Just like de-escalation, just like empty hand combatives. Those are things you're more likely to use and have to use than you will, but medical you will. And the other thing is carry medical, it's mindset. You get in that mindset, and that mindset is training. And then what your everyday carry, just carrying a small little IFAC on you, that's a layer of medical to get you back to the more stuff you've got in your vehicle or your home. You do layers of medical protection on that, because the kit I have in my car or in my backpack is going to be much more extensive. What I carry in my backpack, and then what I have in my car is even more extensive. And what I have at home, I've got pretty much a freaking surgical suite I can put together, So what you do and how you prepare, it's just like being prepared for anything else. We always joke, your handguns to get you back to your long gun. Or you use your handgun for transitions until you get your long gun back in operation. It's the same type of thing.
Right on. Well, do you have anything else for him? I think we've gone pretty long already.
Nope, good to go.
All right. So why don't you give them social medias and website and all that? I have posted them in the comments, like the very first comments, as always.
Yeah,
I'll post them while you're talking.
It's homesteadmedical.us is the website. You can get a hold of me at chuck@homesteadmedical.us. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that is under Homestead Medical. You can find me there on my channels and stuff. You can message me on any of the platforms also. I'm pretty, responsive on that. Or email me, or most of you have my damn cell phone number anyway, so just fucking call me. If you order from SOE, you get one of my business cards, and that number on there is my actual cell phone number. So call me, to send me a text, whatever, and I'll be more than happy to help you.
And also, guys, again, I lost all my phone numbers. Sonny, I believe the number you texted me on today is your cell number, but I lost everyone's number. So if you have my number and you want to get back in touch with me, just text me, and that way I can save you again. Try and get your YouTube up. Are you still doing live streams on YouTube? I know you were doing that for.
Yeah, I'm still doing some. I've just been out of town. I'm probably going to do one this week. Get back into it and stuff. And I've got some videos canned up that I'm editing and stuff. I'm going to be releasing a bunch of videos on some skills and stuff like that, and some shorts, things like that. And I think I saw somebody say something earlier about when I get the dental kit to do a video, and I plan on doing that just to let them know. I'll let you know when it's released, and I'll do a video on it.
Yeah, it was I think it was Casey. You'll like him. Casey is one of the most prepared dudes. He said space blankets. We have an inside joke about space blankets, but he has a lot of space blankets.
That's good. I just had somebody who, I'm not going to say who, but somebody who was in the chat. They just ordered 20 space blankets from me. It's something you need. Most people don't think about it.
Come to patrolling the homestead, and you'll you'll get
You'll
that
see why.
inside joke, guys.
All right, I will.
All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for
See y'all later.
watching. Chuck, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, brother.
Parkers, get medical training. You need it. It is. If you took only a medical class and didn't take a gun class, you've been shooting your whole life. Honestly, I'd be happier. Thank you, everyone who joined. All the comments, guys. Anytime I have a live stream going on, you can see it. Just go to my YouTube channel, click live, and you'll see upcoming ones. I'm going to be on Gary Marr's live stream on Wednesday. I have one going on with Defiant Munitions coming up. And then I got to double check the schedule, but I am planning on doing one with Jerry from Prepared Patriot. Evan and I were talking about doing one today. Sonny, I'm sure you'd be cool with coming on. So we'll go ahead and say that we have one with Sonny Fazekas coming up. And thank you guys for joining us. Keep fighting communism. Kill all pedophiles. And remember,